This has been one of the major national exercises by the Ghana Water Company Limited to retrieve 680 million Ghana cedis owned by its customers. The team took to the Nungwa district to recover a debt of 4.7 million Ghana cedis. Printers, Walker Building System, U-Fresh Company and Qatar Company Limited were the major defaulters. Out of the four, Beverage Factory U-Fresh Company Limited was disconnected over non-payments of bills worth 163,000 Ghana cedis. Managing Director for Ghana Water Company, Dr. Clifford Brymer, cautioned staff not to spare any defaulters.
We should not be thinking for the customer. Let the customer think for themselves. Some of them will say that because there's no flow in our pipes, we are not going to pay. We are not a prepaid company. We are a postpaid. Going to collect your bills means that some water has been consumed. And whatever water that has been consumed, there was chemical use, electricity used, and they need to be paid for. And so somebody cannot say that because he's not going to get water tomorrow, he's not going to pay for what he spent yesterday. I don't think there's logic in it. And we must not give the customers that opportunity to use that as a basis not to pay. Once your meter reads, it means that you have consumed. And we are asking for what you have consumed, but not what you are yet to consume. And so when we get to you, don't tell us, oh, we don't get regular flow. Yes, we know we don't get regular flow, but your meter has read. It means that some water has passed there. And we use chemical, we use electricity to produce that water. So let's go out strong enough and retrieve the money. And at the end of it, the company becomes good. Ghanaians who are even resistant to pay will pay because we improve our services. Without that money, we cannot improve our services at all. We have chemical suppliers to pay, we have electricity to pay, we have our pipe suppliers to pay, we have valve suppliers to pay. How do we make the money if somebody who has consumed your water says that because he's not getting water tomorrow, he's not going to pay for what he spent yesterday? I don't think it's logical enough, and we should not allow them to do that.
Textile manufacturing company Printers owes Ghana Water over 3 million Ghana cedis. They paid half of the amount. Dr. Clifford Brymer believes this is in the right direction.
Printers was right because they have two product lines here. One line for printing the fabrics, and Kali and Calipo. Its rates went higher. So they were disputing that they didn't understand why we should put them on the higher rate instead of on the lower rate. And for us, we are looking at balancing and making sure that we are able to generate the revenue for our operations. But the subsequent review from February, they are up to date. And so we came to talk about the arrears. We have agreed on the paying the 50%, which they have done, and the other one will go and look at the numbers, see what is left for them since they disputed the figures.
He also revealed that pronouncement by the Electricity Company of Ghana concerning the debt owed by Ghana Water Company Limited was not done in the right direction.
Regions do not pay for the production centers of Ghana Water Company for electricity. Headquarters does, and the regions are responsible for the payment of the office premises and accommodation, which they have been paying. And so if there are arrears on the region for a particular system, it has to be at the head office. And the head office also, through the ESLA, some of the production centers' electricity are being paid by government through ESLA. When they pay through ESLA, then we distribute the credit across the production centers. So all the regions will get the credit. So if they do not come to their head office and they sit in the regional levels, they will be misrepresenting the issues. And so the 17 million that they were talking of in Volta region and threatening to disconnect them, it was unnecessary.
The Ghana Water Company Limited's connection exercise is still ongoing, and it is expected to continue until all debts have been paid off. Jacqueline Ansumaya-Bue's report for Joy News.
And here we are back in the studio. Welcome on the AM show if you're just joining us. And we continue on that trajectory talking about water theft, revenue mobilization on the part of the Ghana Water Company Limited. We're pleased to have joining us in the studio the communications manager, Stanley Marty. Mr. Marty, happy holiday to you.
Same to you.
It's a working holiday for us, and today we've dragged you here. So we don't want you to sit at home and chill. We want you to come here.
It's the usual thing. We work 24/7, so anytime. Anytime, anywhere.
Wait, are you saying your schedule is like ours, so that even on holidays?
Yeah, definitely, because people drink water throughout the day.
But is it all the time you have to? All the time?
Occasionally, you also rest. We do, but like anytime duty calls, we make ourselves available. Yeah.
Well, the occasionally, but trust me, I've been working holidays for like 9 years straight. But thankfully, on Good Friday, we had an arrangement. So my colleague was here, and finally,
that was good.
I was able to.
In fact, I thought I was also going to rest today until I had a call to be here. So I'm here. But from here, I hope to be home, have a good rest, because we need to start again from tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll be in the central region.
Okay.
Yes. Now all directors are moving into the regions to join the regions to work with them so that we'll be able to retrieve all our monies.
So tell me, what have you done so far? We know of the Greater Accra region. Now you say you're targeting the central region. Which areas have... In fact, even before we get into that, why this revenue mobilization drive? Is it just on the back of the ECG doing something and you also felt, you know what, let's shake up a bit. We are owed some 800 million Ghana cedis. What was it?
You know, it's been a strategy for all utilities for a very long time.
Okay.
Except the media hasn't been interested. So
really?
So we only issue announcements and press releases and it's in the news and then that's it. But this time it's like the media has gotten very much involved and they are moving with us. And I think it's good. For me, I really appreciate the support from the media. And I hope they're going to continue to do that, because we all need to get involved and to ensure that the utilities function effectively. And then we can also serve our people well. The media is interested in us serving our people well. So why wouldn't they also be interested in people paying us? So I think it's a good sign. It's a good support, and we appreciate it very much. Now, I said I was going to move into Central Region next week. It is not like on district basis or on regional basis, but we are moving out nationwide. So all districts are doing this simultaneously. All regions are doing this simultaneously, except that those of us, the directors at the head office, are moving down into all the regions to support them. We need to find out what the actual challenge is. Okay, until December, our arrears stood at around 600 million Ghana cedis.
That is until December 2022.
Yes.
Right.
And then just first quarter is ballooned to 800 million. It's a cause for worry.
That's an addition of 200 million within just about a quarter.
Exactly. So that is why we want to go down and to find out what the actual challenge is. Now, there has been experiences on the field. We've had opportunity to educate more of our customers so that they appreciate what we find ourselves in, so that they pay. And we also realized that most of our customers were not treating our customer care officers very well, because even for us on the field, we haven't been treated very well by all customers. And we hope that the situation or the narrative will change as we move on with more education and trying to collect our monies.
Now, I'm curious, 800 million. First off, you've explained the addition from the last quarter of last year and the first quarter of this year. But how did we get here? And why wait for so long? I mean, when you realize we're getting into so much in terms of arrears, people owing you so much, why did we have to wait this long till this point? 800 million Ghana cedis is a lot of money. And looking at the complaints that you often come up with, nowadays you complain about turbidity levels of the water you have to process, the chemicals you have to use. You've even warned in the past that if we don't get things right, we may have to import water. Exactly. So on the back of all of that, why would we wait till we get here?
My brother, you know that our system is a post-paid system. So people consume the water before we bill them. Okay, and I think that is our challenge. But our situation is such that that is the way we can do it. All we expect that our customers, our consumers will be patriotic enough, will be responsible enough, okay, so that they add their utility bills to their monthly budget and then they pay on time. They pay promptly so that we can also function. And I think that's about it, okay? Because if, for instance, you have to pay before you get a product, we wouldn't be in this mess, okay? But our situation and our system is such that you have to consume before we bill you, so that people consume the water and then they are reluctant to pay.
So two things. We have to pay before, we have to consume before we pay. I get the system.
Yes.
It is post-pay.
Post-pay, yes.
But should we wait? I mean, you see there's someone, let's say someone has consumed about 30,000, not paid, 50,000, 100,000, 120,000. At what point do you have triggers that show that, look, this person consistently hasn't paid for a while, we have to step in and either recover some funds or disconnect the person?
Okay, so we haven't waited, but then we have customers that we serve. We have a relationship with our customers. Sometimes we want to assume that we are also challenged, so we want to give you a bit of time. Okay, but then if it has to continue beyond a month, beyond 2 months, then it becomes a cause for worry. Per the PULC regulation, 14 days after receiving your bill, you have to make do with the settlement of your bill, or else you'll be liable to disconnection or for disconnection. So that has been the trend, and that has been how we go about it. You know, the situation is also such that we move out every time to warn them. We send them demand notices. We send them demand notices and all that, and expect that they'll pay. So sometimes our arrears go down, sometimes it goes up. Okay, sometimes when they pay promptly or when we collect, it goes down, and then sometimes it goes up. Okay, and it is just strange that within this quarter, we've had a balloon this way. It has never happened before, and that is why directors had to leave their offices and to find out what actually is happening. We also realized that, I mean, on some of the experiences, is that when we had the last tariff, most industries... You
mean the tariff adjustment?
The tariff adjustment.
Right.
Most industries refused to pay because they felt that the difference was too high. And they have been meeting with us to see how best that challenge can be solved. But then the thing is, we expected them to be paying, whilst we are in discussion.
So while we find a solution,
exactly,
do the right thing,
exactly,
make payment.
Exactly. But most of them stopped paying, hoping that there'll be some change. But even if there'll be a change, it will be a change moving on, but not a change going back.
Right.
Okay, because if the tariff
which also means that whatever they've not paid for, they will still pay according to the tariff rate as it prevailed then.
Exactly, because if the tariff is gazetted, GWCL can charge less, okay, and we can charge more. So whatever you have been billed for, you have to pay. So whilst we are in discussion, the expectation is that you continue paying your arrears. If anything is to happen in the next quarter, then at least you can go down. And we expect that PULC will go by their own laws, such that you look at the parameters there as it is, and if it has to go up, you don't burden the utilities by reducing it when it has to go up. When it has to go up, fine. When it has to come down, fine. And there's been times when the quarterly review has gone down, and we have accepted it. We work with it. So if it goes up, why should people refuse to pay? And
the last time that there was supposed to be tariff adjustments, you wanted a lot more. You got much less, both you and the ECG.
Exactly, and we have been working with
Do you feel that was apt per where we find ourselves, per what it takes to produce water for ordinary Ghanaians?
You see, with time, we keep learning.
I just want a brief one on that because there are other pertinent issues related to where we are now that I want us to get to.
Okay, for us it wasn't adequate. But what I wanted to say is that we keep learning. If we realize that if we manage differently from previously how we're doing it,
right,
we could do better even with the tariff that we had. And that is what has been happening. Okay, so we are managing even with a little, and everything is going on well. But if the arrears keep rising, then it affects our operations because we also need to pay our indebtedness to other organizations.
I want you to consider carefully the question I'm about to pose to you and give me an answer.
I will.
Should we get to the point where, like with electricity, for most people, water also becomes prepaid? Are there any such plans? Should we get to that point, first of all? And are there any plans you're considering to sort of mitigate your losses?
Yeah, we have piloted the prepaid system before, and it didn't work for us. So,
why do you think
but we haven't abandoned that idea, okay, because it's a good one. But then the thing is, we need a more robust system. Okay, we need a better system that can suit our terrain. Okay,
what do you mean? Is it a measuring mechanism or what?
With the previous system that we had, a lot of people tampered with equipment, and so we run at a loss. Okay, so what we did in the pilot was to select 3 areas: one elite area, one average area, and one low income area. And you'll be surprised that even those in the elite area had to tamper with the equipment. How much more those living in low income areas? So
when you say equipment, you're referring to the meters.
Yes,
the meters.
Yes, the meters. So then we had to abandon the situation to go back to our conventional system. We have been having discussions with a lot of organizations that are into metering, and so we are hoping that we are going to get a better system that will help us, such that if there's any bypass, we'll be able to identify it. And there should be more sensors, so that when there are legal connections, when people tamper with the equipment and all that, we will be alerted. Then we can act. If we get any system like that, we will go back into it. There are a lot of people who have brought us such systems, but it hasn't worked. Yeah, and currently we have one that we are using for standpipes. Okay, and that we are also deploying throughout the country because that works for standpipes because there's always a vendor. Okay, so it will be very difficult for you to tamper with it. But for the ones that we have to use in our homes, let's say for our properties, our homes, our organizations, and blah blah blah, those ones we really need to be careful because now everything is expensive. Input for the production of water is very expensive. And so the slightest mistake and you're going to fall. And we don't want to go down like that. So,
Before we get into the central region, like you started talking about, and what else you've been doing, I'd just like to find out, on the back of all of these things we're discussing. So first off, the prepaid system, let's say in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years, I've seen some plans that you've had as a Ghana Water Company, and which you've been using incrementally, doing this, doing that, and getting better at what you do. Would you say in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, there should be a prepaid system in place to forestall some of what we have? I mean, there should be a plan to say that, look, we are not there yet, but maybe in the next quarter, in the next year, in the next 2 years, we should get there. Is there such a plan?
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to, okay, anyway, there is a plan and we are working on it. But it's very difficult for me to say that's going to happen in the next quarter, in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years. Because we always get people come in with proposals like that. I mean, Chinese guys are always around us with different types of equipment. We've had equipment from Denmark. We've had equipment from almost all over the world. Okay, but then what we expect to suit our terrain, I don't think we've had it yet. For instance, so if you are able to get it...
So in other words, why we've not been able to implement this is we've not found equipment that suits our terrain.
Exactly.
That can work.
Exactly.
For
so
the
if we should get any organization or institution to bring us a meter that we think that this will work for us, we'll pilot it immediately, and if it works, we'll roll it out. because prepaid system is a good thing, and it will help us. I mean, instead of moving around with chasing all these arrears, it wouldn't happen if you have to install prepaid meters.
In these economic times, there are lots of companies with the tariff adjustment, then again with the economic situation, and some of them will tell you we're not even selling as much and all of that. For commercial entities, industrial entities that are struggling, that have not been able to make payments, whether intentionally or unintentionally, how do you deal with them? Do you have any way of, negotiating with them? How is it done?
Yes, yeah. Like I said initially, we have very good relationship with most of our customers. So if you have such challenge, we need to weigh your challenge, and then we see how best we can help each other. So sometimes we have payment plans for them, and then if you do not default, then the relationship continues very well. But you have to default, then it means that one party will have to withdraw from the agreement, and that is what happens. So we try to support each other. We also have people we owe, and if you are unable to pay, we also go into such arrangements with them. And if they are able to do it for us, why can't we also do it for others? So we have very good relations, and that is why we are not hearing a lot of stories like GWC has been disconnected here, this didn't get chemicals to do this and all that. All our chemicals come in, and we take time to pay. So we also have that flexible terms. But we don't want anybody to default. Same way we also don't default when it comes to those we are indebted to.
Talking about owing, in recent times we found out that you owed ECG.
Yeah.
And apparently they also owe you.
Yeah.
How are you guys dealing with that situation?
We consume power, they also consume water. So obviously that is going to happen. And it's always been like that. And we have a way of offsetting our bills. Sometimes ours goes higher and they have to pay us. Sometimes theirs go higher and we have to pay the difference and all that. So there's a way that we offset. So all our systems, for instance, are managed or are paid at the head office level, because that's where we do the offsetting. But with our regional offices and our bungalows and all that, they are supposed to pay at the regional level, and sometimes by the individuals who live in the home. So that is settled very well. And per our culture, we know staff of ours should owe any utility for it to become news. So we just expect that.
So that's a policy?
Yeah, it's a policy for
no
us.
Staff of the Ghana Water Company?
No, yes, it's a policy for
owe
us.
Any utility provider,
Exactly.
including Ghana Water?
Exactly.
So that it becomes...
Yes, we pay. So I pay my water bills. Yes.
So we know, for example, that in the Volta region, you owe the ECG about 17 billion. So what do you do nationally?
That is a system.
Is it regionally?
Yeah. That is the treatment plant that serves the whole municipality.
I get it, but I'm trying to find out when you strike your averages and offset what the difference is. Do you do that on a national level? So assuming the water company owed ECG 50 million, but the ECG owed you 60 million. It means that you wouldn't pay to them, but they would rather pay you 10 million Ghana.
Exactly.
The difference.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So is it on a national level or regional?
Yeah, the national level. That's why I said that with our systems, okay, it is paid or it is managed. I didn't use the word pay. I said it is managed at the head office.
Right.
Okay, so that is where we do the offsetting, because then sometimes they owe us, sometimes we owe them. Okay, so that's how things work.
Let's go to the central region. You've been raring to go on the central region.
Yeah.
What is the latest? So you started in other places. Tell us about what you've been able to mop up so far from the mobilization up to this point, and what the plan is for the central region.
Yes, what I can say for now is that things are going very well. Anywhere we visited, people have made payment, and so we expect that it's going to continue as we move on. And like I said, when we're moving on our rounds, we are not going to stop with this exercise until we collect all 800 million cedis, all the Ghana Water Company Limited. So it may not end next week, it may not end a week after, a month after, but until the 800 million cedis is paid. And every month, at the end of every month, we still add on more, because we need to bill our customers and they need to pay. So much bills are out now, and we expect that everybody will pay in addition to arrears, so that we don't build on the 800 million cedis. But I can assure you that everything is moving on very, very well. People are paying the way they should. And especially with the education that is going on, it's making things easier. People are complaining about the economic situation, but then the thing is, you have consumed the water already. People are even complaining of the fact that they do not get regular flow. But at least with the little that you have consumed, that is what we have billed you for, and we need money for it, so that at least we can invest back into the system and then serve you very well. So everything is moving on and quite okay.
Moving on smoothly. Do you have any timelines? You say you're going to recoup every last peswa of the 800 million.
Everything.
And of course, even while this drive is going on, more debt is being added on.
So I hope it's really.
What are your timelines? Feasible. What is the plan? Within which period are you hoping to recoup?
We will continue till we collect our monies. We will continue, and we are just adding some human face to it. But at a point, if we realize that people are just being recalcitrant, then we may have to be a bit ruthless by prosecuting people in the law courts, and then no one will retrieve our monies, and whatever means we have to use in retrieving our monies, we will. And I want to let our consumers know that if you do not pay your bills before we come to you, we will disconnect you, and you may have to pay everything in full before, including a reconnection fee before you are reconnected. And so I'll urge everybody, if you're owing the GWCL, please do well, go pay your bills, and then let's live in harmony, let's work together. We want to serve you more than we are doing currently. So we need the little bills that we have sent to you, the little revenue to enable us improve on our services. So we expect everybody to do that.
Let's talk about the punitive measures. For those who simply fail to comply, I mean, over time, who may not show enough commitment. Apart from what you've mentioned, are there any other measures that you use? Are there any other ways? For example, are there any people or entities that you have to cause their arrest at some point in time? Give us the detail.
Yes, those who are involved in some more practices, we call for their arrest as well. Because so you can't be owing us and be stealing us. Like bypasses and illegal connections and all that. Because you can't be stealing our water. You're refusing to pay your bill and you're stealing the water in addition. I mean, that is double jeopardy. And we will ensure that the law takes its course. It's actually criminal. You know, stealing is an offense against the state. So if you steal water, it's a crime and you'll be treated as a criminal. So I want our customers to know that this is the situation. Don't involve yourself in any of these more practices. Be patriotic enough. Pay the little that you have to pay to enable the utilities serve you better.
And we do know, I mean, I remember the electricity situation where one entity, because it's a commercial entity, I don't want to mention its name, but they have set up an entire, facility just to bypass the system and enjoy electricity for free, and they were charging huge sums of money. So
I saw.
But you find out people like that. Have you ever done same when it comes to?
Yeah. I mean, people are involved in very complicated illegal connections, and sometimes, if you are not an expert, you wouldn't be able to identify that this is an illegal connection. But thanks to God, we train our people very well, so they are able to identify them, and then we cause their arrest.
Just as with the ECG, though, as we talk about the situation, we oftentimes hear that sometimes your own people are in cahoots with some of these people who are bleeding you dry in terms of funds. What are you doing in that regard? Has it come to your attention? And what are you doing?
Yes. It's an allegation. And,
allegation?
Per our training, okay, and per our policy, if you are found condoning and conniving with a customer to steal water or to deprive the company of the needed revenue.
Or maybe to tweak the meter so that the reading is...
Yes, you're fired immediately. It's outright dismissal. It's outright dismissal, yes. And you wouldn't want to lose your daily bread because of some peanuts. So we don't expect our staff to be involved in that. But occasionally...
Does it end there, though? Outright dismissal? I mean, do you hand them over to the police or something?
We've had occasion of doing that a few times, but I mean, outright dismissal is enough. I mean, if we prosecute the offender, that's the customer, and he mentions you as an accomplice, then you are going to go with him, and then the law will deal with you.
I see.
Yeah.
So to cap off the conversation, considering how important water is to all of us, none of us can deal with not having water. I'd like to find out, before you give your concluding remarks, the whole bit about water availability, the processes of, treatment and all of that, and how difficult it has been on the back of the different challenges with Galamsey and the rest. Would you say we are any better off? Are we slightly improving? Has it become worse? Has it become more difficult to treat our water? Where do we find ourselves, and what is your hope, especially tied to the Galamsey menace?
It's a bit difficult answering this question. What happens is that during the rainy season, the river levels are high, so this the situation becomes or the system will not be good for Galamsey to operate effectively. Okay, those who do it off the rivers, okay, and discharge their water into the rivers, okay, are able to work, but those who work on the water bodies are unable to work because of the high levels of the river. And then during the dry season, when the levels go down, that is when it is rife for them. Yeah. Okay. And so there's that situation. There's also the situation where when we strike, let's say with the forces, okay, some of them leave the river bodies, and then we see some improvement. So the improvement is on and off. So it becomes a bit difficult to talk about this one. But the thing is, we need to stop it entirely, okay? Because we need good quality raw water to enable us treat the water very well with less chemical, so the production cost will be down for our people. The more turbid the water is, the more expensive the production becomes. Then it impacts on the tariff. Okay, so if we all think that tariffs are going high and we need to reduce it, then let's all educate everybody found within that arena of illegal mining or alluvial mining, so that we will all put an end to it. We'll see improvement in the quality levels, and then we can have quality water at a cheaper cost. The other thing is, it is not only Galamsey or alluvial mining that is affecting the water bodies. Now we see even aquaculture on the Volta Lake. And it is terrible now. Every nautical mile on the Volta Lake, you will see several fish farms, and it's affecting the quality of the water.
And some of them diverts the water sources, right?
Exactly. We are seeing industrial effluent in the water now, because some industries assume that they find themselves in a place where there isn't any river body, but they forget that every drainage ends up in a river, okay, or the sea. So if you discharge your effluent without treating it into any drainage, it will end up and pollute the river. Now, farming activities is also another challenge, and so people are cutting off trees that are giving our water bodies some cover, so that the rate of evaporation will reduce. So you cut down the trees, and then now you expose the river body, and then rate of evaporation is high, and then you till the soil close to the river body. Anytime there rains, it washes off the topsoil to silt the river body. Okay, so it is all affecting the volumes of water in our rivers. It's affecting the quality of the water and all that. With aquaculture, the feed that they use for the fishes, okay, enriches the alluvial soil. So it also aids the rapid growth of aquatic weeds. Okay, so it changes, the aquatic weeds change the taste of the water, they change the color of the water, and all that. And so it affects us. For instance, we have 3 treatment plants on the Volta River. But the Volta River used to be the less polluted river body in our country. Now it's being polluted Formerly, even in Kpong, we were not using much chemicals, but you see that you see the trend in the last 6 to 10 years that there's a steady rise in the consumption of chemicals in the treatment plants on the Volta Lake. So it's also cause for alarm, because what we do is to balance off with the cost of production in these areas as against cost of production in areas where they are heavily polluted. But now, if these areas are also being polluted, then it means that cost of production will go very, very high, and in the future it will affect us negatively. So it's important that we look at pollution of our river bodies in total, so that we put an end to it. Other than that, every time tariffs will keep going, we'll keep complaining, and there's nothing we can do about it, because every input in water production is imported into the system.
Right.
So if we have to use more of our inputs just to get good quality water for our people, it means that we're spending more in the production of the water. So it's essential that we manage it very well. Now you can look at also the rate at which the dollar is increasing as against the cedi. So if, for instance, everything, as I said, is imported, and we have to use more of them, it means that we have to be buying more dollars to import the same quantity of chemicals and
logistics
all that.
that you.
So in all ways, it affects the cost of production. So it's very essential that we manage our water bodies very well. That we have control over as a country, okay, but we don't have control over the inputs, okay. So if we can control the pollution of our river bodies, so that we can use less chemicals, then cost of production could go down, and then we all should be happy when it so happens.
Just to wrap up the conversation, this is a security matter, and I'll tie it into another security matter. But water is life. Yeah. Without it, I mean, can you imagine what would happen if we didn't have access to water and people got plaintive, and you can imagine the chaos that would ensue. Exactly. If people didn't have water to bath, water to drink, first of all. I mean, so that is a security-related matter. I just want to wrap the conversation picking your thoughts on the second matter we're going to be discussing after you're gone. Also security-related. You've seen the footage, I'm sure, from what happened in Axim recently, the police officers who assaulted by alleged gallants.
Yes. That was bad.
Then we saw another one where some police officers who supposedly were dealing with some drug dealers were beaten to a pulp, one with a pestle, like the one you use to pound fufu and the others. It was terrible. It was gory. I couldn't watch it twice. Then we've seen the latest one in, let me just get the name of the place right, because I don't want to, that is Wano Akotoso, where over a grass cutter, a rat. There was an issue, a police officer, at least one of those tied to their group, was apprehended, was being strangled and all of that. What do you, I mean, in the past, like I interacted with Suleiman Abrahima this morning, he said it would happen, but the frequency of it that we are seeing now is troublesome. I just want you to deliver your concluding comments, but rope in what you see as far as security is concerned in that regard.
Yeah, so when it comes to water security, I think that it's essential that we manage the pollution of our river bodies very well. There has been research that has said that if the rate of the pollution of our river bodies is to continue the way it is now, it will get to a point where our river bodies will go extinct, and we may have to import water into the system before we can get water to consume. And
are we on that trajectory already?
Yes, because apart from that, there's also climate change. Okay, so now we are unable to predict when there'll be rains and when there wouldn't be rains. Last year and this year, most of our treatment plants that have never shut down had to shut down because the rivers dried up. And some of them, turbidity was so high that we had to shut it down. So we experienced that in Dabuase last year. This year we have experienced it. For instance, in Birim, in Chebi, Osino, and all that. for the past 10, 15 years, every year we have had to shut down for 2-3 months. Okay.
Wow.
So if it has to continue like
that
that,
used not to be the case.
not at all. Okay. So then with a discussion in security, it means that if you're unable to manage these things very well, if you're unable to secure our water bodies very well, then we could face that challenge. And if it so happens, I don't think posterity will be happy with that, because Ghana has been really endowed with river bodies. Looking at nations of Africa, nations surrounding us, we have really been endowed. God has been good to us by giving us what we have. But if you are unable to manage it very well, to the extent that they will go extinct, or to the extent that we can't even treat for consumption, then I think generation set unborn will not be happy with this generation at all. And so I think we should really seriously work at it. We shouldn't take it for granted. I mean, I'm sure people just assume that, no, these people are just talking. But if you experience it, then you realize that no. I mean, if you go to the Wasi, you see a treatment plant that is supposed to treat over 11 million gallons of water a day, and is unable to treat even 2 million gallons. Okay, to the extent that we have to shut it down, and there's no water at all. I mean, if you can imagine, for a whole month, we have service equipment and everything, it is there, and we are not producing. You ask yourself, what are the people going to consume? You know, and there's nothing we can do about it. You know, that area is also saline. You know, the coastline or the southern section of Ghana, we have the aquifers to be saline. So if you drill a borehole, there's the likelihood for you to get this thing, salty water, is very high. So then it's also another treatment process. Okay, and for boreholes, if it's not for your home, then it becomes something else. So we shouldn't take those things for granted. I mean, if we talk about those things, we mean it and we are serious. And we've shown the videos on TV and all that. As to whether the people are paying attention or not, we are unable to tell. Time will tell.
We have to go. Time is not our friend. But something just hit me. I just want some clarity on it. Last year, there were some rains that flooded some of your facilities. And we're told that some of your equipment had likely been destroyed. It would cost millions of dollars. Can you give us a quick update on that?
Yes, we've managed to put all of them back into operation.
Did you have to get new equipment, or you were able to refurbish?
No, we refurbished some, and some we needed to buy new ones. For instance, in Secheheman, for instance, 3 pumps just went off. They all just broke down, and we had to import new ones. With other areas, we had to refurbish them because the parts were available, so we just had to refurbish them and all that. And then we also had to put in measures to ensure that there's no reoccurrence. But like I said, climate change is such that we are
you're unable to predict.
We are unable to predict. Okay, so when you don't expect rains, they just come, and they come very heavy. And then what you don't expect to happen.
About how much did it cost? Can you give us an approximate?
It's very difficult for me to mention a figure now.
Right.
But
I understand.
But our pumps are customized, and they're very expensive. I mean, when you see the sizes of pumps and the way they are, I mean, you can even just you can tell that they're very expensive. They cost millions of dollars. So if they just have to go down just because somebody is trying to extract some small resource from water, then you can imagine the enormity of the challenge that we are faced with.
Mr. Mate, we're grateful that you've spent the time having breakfast with us, a breakfast of information sharing.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful because we find ourselves in a very terrible situation. So for me to have the opportunity to speak to your audience, I'm happy about it. And I just want everybody to know that the situation in which we find ourselves now isn't a joke. And so the little that you have to pay, water is inexpensive, or water is inexpensive or not expensive. So please do with the little that you have to pay. I mean, people even get, let's say, 50 cedis, 100 cedis at the end of the month. You understand? But it is the little that we collect that we put together, and we are able to change into dollars to import our chemicals. So don't assume that, okay, this month my bill is just 100 cedis. Let me just hold on till next month or 2 months after before I pay. No, please pay the little now. We need it. We need it. Okay, and this time there'll be no mercy at all. We won't come to your premises and be listening to stories.
Right.
So just do what you have to do, and then let's all live in harmony.
Stanley Mate is communications manager with the Ghana Water Company Limited, and he joined us for a conversation. Right before we get into our next conversation focusing on security matters, since we've been talking about water, we know water is life, and Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. Now, they have the perfect sizes, 330 ml, 500 ml. 330 ml, you can put it in your children's kits as they go to school. If you're a heavy drinker, 750 ml, or if you're like me, you always want more, 1.5 liters, and you're good to go for the day. But if you're in your office or home and you want something bigger, they also have 19-liter jar bottles for your office or your home. So all you need to do now is stay awake with Awake purified drinking water wherever you go. So choose a bottle of Awake today. And do remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. That, for me, is heartwarming. They're ensuring that our brothers, our sisters who can't afford that treatment can get it at our health facilities. And it's another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. For bulk purchases, just reach them on 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. When we return, we're going to be talking about attacks on security operatives, the spate of violence, what exactly is happening, and how we can stem the tide of same. All of that up next on the AM Show. Do stay.